All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you for that light smattering of recorded applause. It means so much to me. As we finish up what was a holiday weekend, President's Day, and
you're a bit loud.
That music is really loud.
Yeah.
There you go.
What happened?
No, the music was loud.
Your music was a bit loud. It was pegging the levels here.
Oh no, the music was loud. This is bad. I'll tell you. A lot of my studio was redone over not in any kind of substantial way that should matter, but apparently in ways that affect my. Well, look, I don't know what to concentrate on. I know that we have a lot going on.
The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy.
The Dow is 50,000 from what I'm told, which is very exciting.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over 50,000.
Yes,
I don't know why you're laughing.
I'm excited. I'm not excited about a couple of losses that we will share with you, and I will look forward to hour 2, during which David Cay Johnston joins us. I do want to say I'll get those levels worked out done, Tony, in a special post-show meeting. We'll work those out. It's hard for me to tell levels, as you know, based on. By the way, I went for the hair darkening, and they went super dark. Yeah, I went for. Please give me Liberace dark. Give me the
what?
Yeah. So
it looks good though. I like it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's fantastic.
All right. I have my dark credibility glasses on as well. There's a lot right with today's show. I also got some viewer mail that I will share with you.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Share with you in just a couple of moments. And the bottom of this hour, there's a really intriguing conversation that we're going to have with our guest, Adam James, who talks about Donald Trump from the standpoint of his diminishment in terms of mental acuity and also in terms of physical vibrance. In fact, that's kind of a polite way to put it, the way I just put it. He believes that Donald Trump is in steep decline, and you'll hear all the reasons why, and you'll also hear the evidence that points to some of these things that he speaks about. And he has a lot of experience in this field, and you'll meet him again. That'll be bottom of this hour. Before I get to some of the heavy stuff in the world of government, I think I want to quickly, I don't know if anybody saw that the Winter Olympics are on. Has anybody noticed that? That's a very big, yeah. A couple of things jumped out at me at the Winter Olympics. I'll just mention this because this is a radio show that migrated here to YouTube and to iHeartRadio and Spotify, etc. I mention that because sometimes we aren't pure politics right out of the chute when we talk about other stuff. I just wanted to kind of explain the context of that. And Kim, of course, came with me from the radio.
Kim, how are you?
And as did Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
So, I noticed, as probably you did, I'm always rooting for the oldest athletes to win. That a couple of women in their 40s won gold medal. One won a gold medal, one won a bronze medal. Yeah. Americans. Yeah.
Nice.
It was very, very good news. And then I saw that there was a controversy in the world of curling, which I've really gotten into. I've gotten into the curling thing in a super big way. It's weird. It's like 1:45 in the morning, and I'm watching ladies curling. And because it's really good, not because I'm, there's nothing else on. And apparently there it is. This is the controversy. In Canada, they are biting back. But The rest of the world is suggesting that there was a double touch. Now, here's what that means. Curling, once you release the stone, as it's called, that disc, you can't touch it with your hand anymore. You can't touch the stone. You've released the handle, and now it's on a glide path, and it is what it is. And you have those sweepers there trying to direct its ultimate path. So what is suggested here is that the Canadian team released the handle, and then, as you can see, kind of redirected the stone and by touching the stone, and that became a huge controversy. It's called a double touch.
After it crossed the line?
Yeah. Oh, you're not allowed to...
well, you're not supposed to touch the granite at all. You're only supposed to touch the handle, the metal part. You're not supposed to touch any of the granite at all, ever.
Is he poking it in that picture?
Yes. Yeah, it looks like he's making some contact with it. And we're showing it here on YouTube for those who are just listening.
He's goosing it.
And so that is a violation, and it's led to controversy. It's also led to what will be sort of additional minders, if you want to call that, observers, official Olympic observers, who had never before been called upon to do this at the Olympics, because there is an electronic sensor that's in the handle. So typically, you don't need observers, because if he were to, for example, make a second contact with the handle after having released it, there would be a sensor that would go off and it would indicate that.
Which is why he touched the stone part.
Thank you. So that is Olympic controversy. And we will watch that. Kim, I'm counting on you to try to keep an eye on that in case there's some penalty that's meted out.
The only controversy I've heard about at the Olympics is a very sexy scandal.
You're talking about the fact that they have run out of condoms, or there was a supply that ran out in 3 days.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
They've been doing the do over there at the Olympics. As a matter of fact, there's one young woman who is using her Olympian-dom, whatever you call it, as a platform to find love. Did you hear about her?
No, I did not. Please inform.
I don't have the name, but I know that she has decided that this is the time in her life where she's going to have the most attention put on her. And so she's decided to use it to find love. So when I saw that story, and then when I saw the lack of condoms at the Olympic Village or what have you, I thought, well, now it makes sense, because they go there to win gold and to look for love.
Oh, I see. Very, very interesting. Well, they certainly are all elite athletes, and there is free protection that is provided to the Olympic athletes, and that has always been the case. But the supply ran out quickly. During the first week of the games, within 3 days, they had gone through all their complimentary condoms. And unless they're sending them home or something, it would suggest that there are an awful lot of people rolling around with each other. I mean,
what's going on at the Olympic Village?
Well, it's Italy. Isn't Italy the place where, it's the world of amore, right? So there it is. The Olympic Games and the condoms. I think 10,000 have been used, 2,800 athletes.
Wow.
You can go figure, as they say, says International Olympic Committee spokesman Mark Adams. It clearly shows that Valentine's Day is in full swing in the village. Got to love it.
Girl, you just woo.
They work that in between practice. Man. I am impressed. Anyway, that's going on at the Olympics as well. And finally, the International Olympic Committee is being criticized for selling Nazi-era T-shirts that have, if you will, the designs from the Berlin Olympics in 1936, which were used by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis for propaganda. There are calls for Germany, there are calls in Germany, as noted here from the BBC, for the sale of the shirts to be stopped but the IOC has defended it as being part of its heritage collection, celebrating styles from all editions of the games.
Maybe we don't want to celebrate that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's part of our heritage collection. Yes. The Nazi swastika placed quite tastefully there in the upper right-hand part. It's part of our heritage collection. Yes. In any case, it looks like the T-shirts would show a male figure wearing a laurel wreath. Over his head are the Olympic rings. Underneath him is the Brandenburg Gate and the words Germany, Berlin, 1936 Olympic Games. And the games, I mean, just so happens those games were a central tool of the Nazi regime's propaganda machine. And that's the reason that that particular configuration emblazoned on a shirt rubs people the wrong way. But that's a story on that. That's a story out of the Olympics. And now you know. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I welcome you all. It has been a morning and weekend of events of all sorts. I will actually review a lot of the politics, and there's been significant stuff going on. And of course, we're on the precipice of a military conflict in Iran. There's been a tremendous push on, I think, this voter suppression act. I don't know that it'll pass, but wow, it's a real sign of what's happening. The mask is off. And there's plenty more. I have Epstein stuff in just a few minutes, including Epstein ties to Steve Bannon. There have been high-profile resignations as a result of connections to the Epstein files. One thing that happened was Valentine's Day, and we got a Valentine's card. Someone pushed to me the Valentine's card. Before I get to the Sweet 106 stuff, which was really great, this is the Valentine's card done in the style of the Epstein file release. This is a real card sent to someone there in our audience. I'm sorry I don't have...
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Dear redacted, and then a bunch of black redactions, and then a bunch more of and another. Hope it's, and then that is redacted from, and that is all redacted. And you can see, I'm just describing it to people who have to listen and can't see it. But, and then it says XO, and then one of the X's, again, from the other X is, anyway, it's redacted, Pam Bondi. And then PSI, and then it's redacted, the Dow. So, yeah.
The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy.
Yeah. So that was really great. And I'm sorry I misplaced whoever sent me that. Thank you. One of our listener viewers sent me that. The other thing that happened on Valentine's Day was well, it's related to one of our partners, so I guess I should do it. Should I do it now, Kim, because we're talking about Valentine's Day, or what do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me share that with you now, which is
The Mark Thompson Show.
So, we've just begun this partnership with this wonderful organization. I mean, they're it's a homegrown organization. It's a female entrepreneur. She's won Cupcake Wars twice, and her business is called Sweet 106 Bakery. SUITE, like a suite of rooms, sweet106bakery.com. That's where she started at Sweet 106. She started all of this. So that's why it's called sweet106bakery.com. And we've had them on board for maybe 10 days, or maybe it's been a couple of weeks now, and their stuff is just amazing. And the thing you're looking at now is, to me, the true motherlode of what they have going on, which is this layered cupcake. And they come to you in these canisters that you see, and then you can spoon eat them like you would ice cream or something. And I'm telling you, it is otherworldly. And I'm so proud that they are on board with us. They are the real thing. And as our audience has connected with them and ordered their stuff, we're starting to get all of these great reactions. And again, use the discount code MarkT, 15% off if you do reach them. So among those who reached out to us were these two people. And we got, Kim, maybe you can help me with the actual email. It was
I don't think you forwarded it to me.
Oh, great. Well, that sounds like something.
But you did send it to Tony.
I sent Tony. I sent you the email.
I blame you.
Okay.
That's a very 1 second.
Very cute picture. I love it.
So this is for Valentine's Day, and oh, by the way, it was Tom in Danville who sent me the Pam Bondi things, and now I'm going back and I'm going over the.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Yeah, but let me get these two. This is, oh Lord,
Steve and Lori.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Thank you, Tony.
I tell you, soon it'll only be Tony here. He'll be the only guy. He's the only guy with his act together. Happy Valentine's Day to you and Courtney. I just wanted to reach out and thank you for bringing Sweet 106 Bakery on as a sponsor of the Mark Thompson Show. My wife, Lori, surprised me with Kristi's Southern Red Velvet cupcakes. Oh,
nice.
They are so good.
Oh, look at that.
And there they have built a little shrine to their Valentine love. And Sweet 106 Bakery's at the center of it. So they have described the fact that they cannot stop eating it. It is just so very good. And you will love it too. Happy Valentine's Day. Cute couple. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your experience and that note and picture. Really do love it. And I don't know why I can't find it, the rest of it on my phone, but I'm glad I'm glad Tony did find it. So again, Sweet 106 Bakery is sweet106bakery.com. 15% off at checkout with the discount code MARKT. That is the Kristi's Southern Red Velvet. That is my kryptonite. I could truly be found someday in a coma with a spoon and Kristi's Southern Red Velvet by my side. It is that good. I'd say, what a way to go. Sweet106bakery.com. Yeah.
I got a message from Noe Marie, who used to work at KGO, and she's an avid Mark Thompson Show listener these days. And she ordered enough for her whole family each to have their own 3.5 cupcake cake container.
Wow.
Yeah. The box arrived, and she texted me that there's a trick. She said, this reminds me, if you eat halfway down, you can put ice cream in it too. So not only do they have the cupcake cake, then they turned around, ate half of it, and loaded it up with ice cream. So
man, that is decadence. Yeah. You know, that's another level of decadence. I love that. I love it. Well, enjoy it any way you can. And we love having them on board. Sweet106bakery.com. Mark T at checkout for 10% off.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
The breaking news of the hour is the Jesse Jackson death. Jesse Jackson, of course, the civil rights leader. I kind of grew up with Jesse Jackson being a prominent civil rights leader through the civil rights movements around Dr. Martin Luther King. Jesse Jackson was a close associate, and Jesse Jackson went on to run for president twice. And he was very relevant in national conversations about things beyond civil rights, but clearly a powerful civil rights leader of a powerful civil rights movement. Here's a little something on Jesse Jackson.
Legendary civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson, dying at the age of 84.
I'm human. I am God's child.
After decades in the public eye, watching a country change as much as he did, Jackson, born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, was a young protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his life changing when King was gunned down in Memphis. Jackson, literally, there by his side.
It sounded like a stick of dynamite or a large firecracker. And when we turned, all we could see was police coming. Police were coming from the direction of the shot. They had been lined up along the streets.
It fell to Jesse Jackson and a small group of others to help keep the civil rights movement alive. The Baptist preacher known for his stirring speeches.
Repeat this. I am somebody.
Becoming a voice of the people.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Jackson made Chicago his base of operation, starting what became the Rainbow Push Coalition, urging companies and politicians to improve opportunities for minorities. And he had his own political ambitions, launching a bid for president in 1984. The campaign marking the first time a national party had a major African-American contender. But the campaign was derailed when Jackson admitted using an anti-Semitic slur in a private conversation to describe New York City and Jews who live there.
However innocent and unintended, it was insensitive and wrong.
His apology at a New Hampshire synagogue helped him climb out of a deep political hole. He didn't win the nomination, but came closer after another run in 1988.
My right and my privilege to stand here before you has been won in my lifetime by the blood and the sweat of the innocent.
20 years later, a visibly emotional Jackson witnessing America elect its first black president, Barack Obama, a fellow Chicagoan. Over the years, Jackson used his considerable leverage as a statesman here at home to draw headlines around the world, joining the fight to end apartheid in South Africa, winning freedom for Americans held captive overseas, telling Today in 1999 he was always conscious of Dr. King's legacy.
The dream continues and the struggle continues, but every now and then we see flashes of hope. Inclusion leads to growth, and when there is growth, everybody wins.
In later years, Jackson facing multiple health issues, diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2017, hospitalized with COVID in 2021. But he remained involved in politics, leading Get Out the Vote efforts. And in 2024, he was honored at the Democratic National Convention. Applause for a civil rights icon who dedicated his life to keeping hope alive. Craig Melvin, NBC News.
Yeah, and it's true. The one thing left out of that, and I guess it's just left out because you don't do this when you're memorialize someone with an obituary of that sort, is he ran Push in a controversial way in the last couple of decades that it was run. I mean, it was called a shakedown operation, a mafia operation, the way that they approached Jackson and the leaders of Push approached various U.S. businesses and shook them down for money that went right to Jesse Jackson's organization. And it was done under the guise of trying to integrate the businesses at which they had laid the complaints. So this happened across the board at some of the biggest companies in the world. And I'd say, sadly, there is probably some truth to that way in which Jackson ran that operation. But by the same token, I think, and one of the things I appreciate about that piece and the look back, Jesse Jackson came up in a way that really did give people hope. It really was a movement around which people could see civil rights being something that isn't just talked about. It's something that they were actually seeing progress to gain. And so again, I grew up with all of this in the 60s, in the 70s. You saw a dynamic around civil rights that you just don't see today. Now you're seeing a pushback, this sort of anti-DEI, and you can make the argument that this is part of a much broader sort of philosophical argument about overrunning DEI or overrunning civil rights or overrunning the pendulum swing that accompanies so much of public policy. But it is true that Jesse Jackson, through force of personality, charisma, brilliant oratory, and a real plan, marshaled people in such a way as to continue a civil rights movement that was led by Dr. Martin Luther King, but that was left, in a sense, to Jesse Jackson, or left to anyone around Dr. King to pick up that movement and move forward, and Jackson was the guy who did it. So his contributions to American history and to the civil rights movement cannot be in any way diminished, even if you accept the fact that his organization, as I say, was at minimum wrapped in controversy in the last decades of his life. Now, the other major, and I'm running man, I'm running behind now. I wanted to get to Robert Duvall. How much time do I have? Should I bump this until after David Cay Johnston?
I think so.
Yeah.
Just to be sure.
Yeah. I do want to talk about Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall, I mean, he's a cornerstone actor. I mean, he's a legend, really a legend. And I'll get into some Robert Duvall stuff a little bit later in the show. I want to kind of redirect us to the world of politics, the world of Trump. I still have some Epstein stuff to get to. I've got the latest polling on Trump, which is disastrous. I'll go with disastrous for Trump. I'll go over some of that with David Cay Johnston. So that's all still to come. Smash the like button if you would for me. It costs you nothing, and it helps us out a bit. I remember when Jesse Jackson wept over Barack Obama's election win in 2008. Yeah, you've got to think about what that must have meant to Jesse Jackson to have Barack Obama win. And the other thing I would say, just because we're talking about, there it is. Thank you, Tony. The Barack Obama victory is that Donald Trump, in his condolence to the Jackson family with his social media post, really did nothing but ingratiate himself, saying, I know they call me a racist, but I just want to say my heart breaks for Jesse Jackson. He didn't say my heart breaks, but I mean, I've got the actual quote here. But really the reason I mentioned is, this says, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left. And what lovely sentiments always accompany condolences. Despite the fact that I am falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats, all in capital letters, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. He loved his family greatly, and to them I send my deepest sympathies and condolences. Jesse will be missed, President Donald J. Trump. And he makes a reference in his post to Barack Obama. He says, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. I provided office space for him and his Rainbow Coalition for years in the Trump building at 40 Wall Street. And he said he had much to do with the election without acknowledgement or credit of Barack Hussein Obama, a man who Jesse could not stand. This is what he said in his condolence note. And then he said he loved his family greatly, etc. Boy, Trump's got his own way about him, doesn't he? There is Trump with Jesse Jackson, various pictures. Those pictures posted on his social media. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, that's a word about Jesse Jackson. We'll get to Robert Duvall in a bit.
The Mark Thompson Show.
David Cay Johnston till to come. I'm still nursing a little bit of a cold here. I'm so sorry. Pretty special conversation coming up right now. It's about the health of Donald Trump, with someone who believes Donald Trump actually is in very ill health right now. And that could be instructional for the rest of his term. Let's get to it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am quite excited to talk to our next guest. He's someone who has talked about something directly that has been spoken of circumspectly for a while, and that is specifically the mental acuity and physical condition of the President of the United States. Please welcome our guest, Adam James, everyone. And Adam, you yourself are an interesting person. I'll get to the president in a second, but you are someone who comes from a background of intense religiosity, and you're a churchin guy, and also I think you were former MAGA, or in that MAGA adjacent. And set me straight on that.
Right. So I was born into fundamentalist Pentecostal charismatic Christianity. My parents were as well. So they raised me and my two sisters in the same environment.
So that's like real fire and brimstone stuff.
That's correct. Paula White Cain that's the kind of Christianity that felt normal to me as a child.
People speaking in tongues and stuff like that.
That's correct. Laying on of hands, divine healing, prophecy, dream interpretation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. So from that background, you evolved, and you have really, I guess, deep education in the physical sciences and in the human body through physical therapy, and also you've worked, and I think this is the most intriguing thing when it comes to the President of the United States, with many older patients for years now. I mean, I want to say 14, 15 years, something like that. And so you bring a practical expertise in addition to whatever textbook expertise you bring to this analysis of Donald Trump. So our president seems at times addled, drifty. He's also quite adept at sort of ad-libbing or shimmying or riffing his way out of things. So one can never be sure, you know. And of course, he's given a pass because he has such a strong cultish following. And of course, the GOP is very much in line with supporting him. So it's kind of against that backdrop. Give me a general sense of him. And we have him from just the last day or so slurring a bit, and you can maybe comment on that specifically. But give us a general overview, if you would, please.
Yeah. So the president reminds me of one of my patients. I feel like I'm watching a TV show every day that stars one of my patients. And at this point, it's my impression that he has what is known as frontotemporal dementia. And there are characteristic symptoms of frontotemporal dementia, or FTD for short. The characteristic forward-leaning posture when you're standing, which we've seen him do many, many times on camera over the last decade. Another characteristic symptom is what's called confabulation, where you fill in the holes of your memory with lies that you believe yourself 100%. So anytime it's a lot different from classic Alzheimer's dementia, where you simply forget and there's nothing in that space. The frontotemporal dementia folks will fill in the holes with stuff they make up on the spot. And on top of that, you know, the context of all of his likely dementia symptoms is malignant narcissism. He has always believed he is the best at everything ever and feels entitled to everything at all times.
Let me just stop you there and ask you, are you saying that this is an amplification that we're seeing of an existing condition, the malignant narcissism, or are you saying the malignant narcissism is indeed a sign of the dementia?
No, the frontotemporal dementia, it causes, the frontal lobe is involved. The frontal lobe is what filters our speech, our actions, our thoughts. As his frontal lobe is literally shrinking inside of his skull, it's atrophying because neurons are dying. And this is why he had multiple MRIs, by the way. They're tracking the progress of his shrinking brain. The frontal lobe is the filter. The limbic system is our emotional impulse center. We learn over time what is appropriate, what is not. Those things get stored in our memory, many times through painful experiences where we cause damage to other people. Well, he's losing that. He didn't care about damaging other human beings to begin with, but now his brain's literal ability to stop him from doing and saying absurd things is leaving him.
I see. That does now make sense. Play a little bit, Kim, would you, of the president. This is just in the last day. He was at that coal event, getting the coal award and getting the nation back on track with the dirtiest energy of the modern age. And it's a quick thing, but it was apparently to professionals like yourself quite revealing. Go ahead, Kim.
And I'm proud to officially name the undisputed. When did this come out, Mr. Speaker?
So you see how he shimmies, you know, or riffs off of that, like he tries to get you past that, like you didn't notice.
That's right.
But that's what you're talking about, right? That little slur.
Yeah. So he stumbled in the word so badly that he immediately jumped to his typical reflex, which is to speak extemporaneously. He has a speech on paper, but he will shift into something extemporaneous or ad-libbed to distract from the fact that he completely destroyed the word he was trying to pronounce. And what he struggles with is what's known with dementia patients as phonemic paraphasias, where you'll take a word and you'll rearrange the syllables or the sounds inside of that word, and you're kind of maintaining like 50% of the word's original structure. A great example would be like saying wish dasher instead of dishwasher. And so that's what his brain is doing to his words. He notices it here, and he immediately adjusts to try to cover it.
It's interesting that I've heard this from others who've had parents or grandparents with dementia, that they're aware of the condition and they really are, some of them, extremely good at covering it. And it's often the case with memory or with handling questions, but you're suggesting in speeches and in any kind of public event of this sort, he's become adept at sort of getting around this problem that he's clearly aware of.
Yes. He also has a long-standing history of difficulty reading. He's no academic. He's only gotten where he's gotten because he is practically ruthless, and he's objectively shameless. That's why he is where he is. And so now he still has the ability to adjust and try to, avert people's attention with the ad-libbing, but that's going to leave him soon too.
Play it for me one more time, Kim. I just wanted to see it and hear it one more time. It's really it was just a quick step out, but then here we go.
And I'm proud to officially name the undisputed, when did this come out, Mr. Speaker? The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean call. We have to proceed. Always, I don't use the word call. It needs a PR job.
And there have been other events that he's been part of. Thank you, Kim.
So we're not allowed.
There's been other events that he's been part of during which he even will display that little phenomenon more prominently. Like it'll be several words that he'll bounce between.
That's right.
This one was just sort of a one and done from what I could see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his pronunciation of acetaminophen is legitimate.
Oh, sure. Of course.
He's not familiar with that word.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute disaster.
Acetaminophen.
Yeah, that's right. It was
acetaminophen.
You know what was odd to me about that one, Adam, was that he knew, that entire presser and that entire announcement was all about acetaminophen. It was all about Tylenol. In other words, it wasn't like just one more word thrown in there that he was just going to, I didn't study up on this one. They threw in a bunch of medical words. No, the whole press conference was about acetaminophen and Tylenol and the tide of autism.
Right.
So I just felt like I'll give somebody a pass. If you passed a bunch of people on the street and asked them to say acetaminophen, maybe they'd blow it, maybe they wouldn't. I mean, I understand it's not a super easy word, but if it was the only thing you were going to speak about, you'd clearly be up on how to say it.
Acetaminophen.
So you're saying that was a sign as well?
Yes, it is. Again, the difficulty reading plays into it, but his inability to sequence syllables of words is an indicator of brain atrophy.
We've got a graphic up here of what a healthy brain looks like, and then cerebral atrophy of the sort you're talking about. This is associated with age, I guess, and circulation issues.
So there's a genetic component that leads to dementia for many people. There are, nature versus nurture factors involved. If you don't take good care of yourself long term, you risk dementia more easily. You can have, negative health behaviors, smoking, drinking, drug use, that kind of stuff. These things can compromise the microvasculature in your brain. It can lead to strokes. It can lead to what's called vascular dementia, which is actually strictly a result of reduced blood flow to the brain hemispheres. But yeah, this is what you'll see. Again, if you can look up an MRI of a frontotemporal dementia patient, and you'll see that atrophy right around the frontal and temporal lobes. And I wonder, maybe one day we'll see his MRIs, but I already know exactly what they're going to look like.
Well, this is where I kind of want to skip ahead in the movie, because having watched a lot of your stuff, your general thesis, as I understand it, I've heard you speak of this, is that you just don't feel as though he's got that long.
Mm-mm. I really don't. The context of how harsh I am about his expectancy is how much he has worked and the people around him have worked to lie about his health status. He's been lying about his health for over a decade. he claimed back in his first campaign before the 2016 election, he releases a health summary from his doctor, Harold Bornstein. Bornstein told the press after the fact that Trump himself dictated that. He dictated it to Bornstein. Bornstein signed it, and Trump sent a limo to pick up the hard copy of the letter. He's been working that hard for 10, 12 years to hide what's been going on with him. Now we know from the release of these Epstein files that even Epstein himself suspected that Trump had dementia. And the life expectancy for frontotemporal dementia from, the time of diagnosis is roughly 7 to 12 years. I've seen 7 to 10 years in some places. So if you just do the math, we're coming right down to the wire here. Now that's just the dementia side. That's to say nothing of what's most likely congestive heart failure and or chronic kidney disease, a possible history of stroke and or TIA.
What is TIA? Those are the little mini strokes?
That's right. The pen stroke is what you'll hear it called sometimes. Transient ischemic attack. It's not nearly as severe as a CVA, the cerebrovascular attack. So I think he probably had an event like that last Labor Day when he disappeared for several days for no reason.
You think he had the bigger one? You think he had the cerebral one or the TIA?
He very well might. I think he could have had the larger one. I mean, the way that the right side of his face drooped in later in September, it's tough to tell. Sometimes he has access to the best healthcare possible. Sure. So if he has a stroke in progress, they will have the TPA clot busting drug in his veins immediately. They will. So if he has a cerebrovascular event or whatever, his is always going to be minimized because he's going to get that drug as soon as possible. We work super fast to notice signs of stroke in our field because time is of the essence. If you can get somebody to the ER soon enough, you can get them the clot-busting drug and stop a stroke in progress. So that's another factor at play for him. What was it, a full-blown stroke? Was it a TIA? Not really sure. Yeah, there it is. I mean, that is right-sided facial droop. And again, it doesn't involve the forehead, which tells us it's not Bell's palsy. It's not the result of viral infection or some other etiology. But yeah, that's where I'm coming down on, how long I think he has left. Again, we're watching his hands bruise from some mysterious, they lie again. The more lying, they lie about why his hands bruise. Oh, it's from shaking hands. No, it's not. No, it's not.
That seemed like a tortured explanation to begin with. But I know that the blood thinners that are often prescribed, they can cause bruising on the hands and all over the body super easily.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. And I think, and again, the Trump administration's worst enemy is Trump's mouth. He can't shut up. He can't not mention he's taking the adult dose of aspirin against doctor's orders. He can't not mention, I had an MRI. I took 3 cognitive tests. It's like, brother, if you could just shut up, I wouldn't be making any videos. Right. But anyways, I think it is blood thinners because of how often the bruising happens and how drastic it is. He covered the entire backside of his hand most recently, and you could still see the bruising at the edges. That was just, yeah. And toward his pinky finger, you could still see the bruising in the photo that I, made a video off of. And on top of that, can somebody help this man color match?
We're showing Jesus. The camouflage. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to do it himself, and I'm sure he's in a hurry or he just cakes on the makeup. I get the vanity of the situation and wanting to show, I don't mean to seem at all sympathetic to Donald Trump, for whom I have absolutely no sympathy particularly, but I kind of understand that, as your body starts to, falter, you're slapping stuff on to try to cover everything. And I've seen many with that bruising you're talking about, and because of those blood thinners. So he's probably on a constellation of medications, any 3 of which could produce that same effect. It's interesting to hear you say that based on all of these things, it's sort of the sun is setting on him physically and mentally. But it's also interesting to hear you say, and there we have a couple of pictures up of the bruising that you're talking about. Yeah. It's also interesting to hear you say that it's the dementia and then there's also the congestive failure. So the dementia is the point. I mean, in like this horse race of stuff that's going to do you in, I just don't know what horse passes the finish line first, and then when they call the race. You're kind of saying, hey, they're going to cover this up to the very last instant they have to.
Yes, they will. It's going to be, kind of like when King Viserys in House of the Dragon dies. They're not going to tell anybody initially because they don't have to, because it's, it's a feudal system with kings and queens, et cetera.
Sure.
That's how they're going to play it. It might be 3 or 4 days before they say something.
Yeah.
It just might, because they cannot afford. I think the smartest people, and I say smart with, loosely, the smartest people in their administration understand that this is a cult that has been built by Donald Trump. And once he is out of the picture, the cult will fracture into splinter groups and they will not be able to consolidate power. So they know that.
When you look at the people that you were around growing up, and you were still, I'm sure, connected to in some way, maybe you can tell us the degree to which you are they still in that cult?
Yes. My own parents are full-blown MAGA.
And you talk to them, I presume.
Yes.
What do you hear from them? Look, go ahead.
Yeah. So recently, this is 2 or 3 weeks ago, I actually had a very honest conversation with them where I basically told them where I'm at this point in my life. And I was able to tell them, I think you both are victims of propaganda. And I think you both fell for it because of what it does for you on an emotional level. So I got to level with them and tell them that. And I tried to appeal, and I've learned so much from Dr. Stephen Hassan, one of the world's foremost cult experts.
Yeah, he's been on the show several times.
Gotcha. Perfect. So Stephen Hassan talks about the authentic self and the cult self and how they both coexist within the same person. And that's exactly how I used to be. And for them, when I talk to them this way, I brought up a story for each of them from years ago that only I know as their son that fully indicates like who their true self is. And I put the question to them, if you were to relay this story that illustrates your authentic self so well to Donald Trump himself, do you think he would understand? And these are stories of like helping troubled school children. My mom taught school for like 20 years in elementary school. And they both looked me in the face and said, yeah, he'd understand. And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah. They're ascribing to him a level of empathy or a level of sympathy or a level of morality or a level of ethics that they have.
Yeah.
They're ascribing it to him. They're just, he's the empty vessel for whatever they want to sort of fill it with, I guess.
That's right.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Doctor says Trump's brain is shrinking as health fears escalate. He can't shut his mouth. This from 5 days ago. I mean, I kind of think that you and others beating this drum, it's finally being heard. And I don't know how successfully it can continue to be covered up. It might be, Adam, that this starts to become part of the conversation in a more prominent way.
Sure. So far, we've seen now sitting members of Congress are starting to talk about this. Congresswoman from Washington State tweeted about it directly. Cory Booker, what did he retweeted some discussion of the president's failing health. Ted Lieu, he called the president old and weak in a press conference. So they know about it. And, to the degree that the fact that sitting members of Congress will say it, it indicates they are willing to gather support for it. And that's when things start moving and shaking.
There's this headline as well we're showing. Trump won't last in office for 4 years, ? Republican advisors warning raises concern. This is Rick Wilson, the former Republican strategist, who said Trump essentially is on a steep decline and probably isn't going to last for his full term. That's sort of what began that conversation.
Yeah.
And you've said the same in even more stark ways.
Yeah. Sean Barbarella, James Jones, the physician and PA for the president himself, they're both lying. They're both complicit. When New York Magazine, they allowed New York Magazine in for an interview, and the first, an interview regarding Trump's health, mind you, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "I'm going to sue your ass off," which lets you know he's scared. And they sit down in the Oval Office with Jones and Barbarella, and he just turns to Jones and Barbarella, is like, "Is my health good?" And they're like, "Perfect, sir." I'm just like, guys, turn your license in. Start selling used cars. You're both useless.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, look, I'm so glad we could get you to come through our world. Your conversation that you've had for quite some time with your audience is one that more and more people are having in America and around the world. And I want to just mention that we'll have a link to. Do you prefer TikTok, or where do you like to send people?
Oh man, wherever they like to be. I'm on all the platforms. Yeah, I still find these days that there are people who use, they're kind of proprietary with what platform they
true.
spend the
You're
most
right.
time
It's
on.
where they're most comfortable.
So,
yeah.
But I'm on all of them. Just look for Epistemic Crisis. It's Epistemic Crisis, y'all, on Substack.
All right, cool. So Substack, and then everything else is just Epistemic Crisis. Adam, huge fans here. My other half is just a massive fan. It's embarrassing how into you she is. But it was really cool to meet you virtually, and I can't wait until the next time. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Adam, everybody, is with us for the first time, and not the last time. Adam James. Yeah. Am I back on now, Tony? You're the boss. I mean, I don't know exactly what's happening.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Good stuff. And you should support Adam in all of his endeavors and all the places that he shows up, and he's on all those platforms. The last thing I'll say, just as a coda to that, is when we wrapped that interview, he mentioned something that I thought I would include, which is, he said, Donald Trump didn't fly to the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl was close. He didn't show up to the Super Bowl. That would be a place that he would normally show up. And he said, on some level, you have to, again, put that into the collection of evidence that suggests he is diminished physically. And a lot of these things that he would normally do quite effortlessly require a lot of effort. He was also saying that he thinks there'll be Adderall for the State of the Union, that there'll be, again, all of these other elements going into propping Donald Trump up. So, but good stuff. And we move on. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about a Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalist, best-selling author, the co-founder of DCReport.org, now professor at RIT, the wonderful David Cay Johnston. Hello, sir.
Hello, Mark. Good
you
to
had
see you, and that was a very interesting conversation you were just having.
I thought you might like it, actually, because you sort of noted similar things along the way in our conversations.
Yep.
I want to. I'm sorry. I know our connection here is a little funky, but we'll press on. I wanted to ask you about a piece that you wrote about someone who has taken center stage as a result of a Wall Street Journal piece, an expose that essentially talks about what we've been talking about on this show since she was appointed at DHS. Those of you who are regular listeners, viewers, know that I've said the real guy behind DHS is Corey Lewandowski. There was another piece again right at the beginning of the administration that said if you want to get something done at DHS, you don't go to Kristi Noem, you go to Corey Lewandowski. So this combative guy who's been embroiled in all sorts of sexual assault allegations and general assault allegations. He's like really a combative guy. He and she are running DHS. Now we find out, David, that there's all this taxpayer money being spent on private jets. There's a bedroom in back of one of the private jets. And there again, this Wall Street Journal piece just lays bare the incompetence at DHS. You point out there are even more agenda-driven aspects to where Kristi Noem is and some of the stuff that she said. And you point that out in your DC report piece.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, so if it's true, as apparently is described as the most worst kept secret in Washington, that Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem are having an affair, that's a matter for their spouses. I don't care. Put him in a government airplane with a bedroom and have him be the portal to get to her. Now I care. That's absolutely outrageous and improper conduct. Layered upon on top of only the best people, only the best, which is, it's actually only the worst possible people.
Well, he's not even a government employee, is he, Devin? I mean,
right? No, he's not. But he's apparently the guy who holds the door to get access to her and to get things to happen. And that's more and more of this we're finding in the Trump administration, people who don't have a government position acting in our name. Illegal, improper, anti-democratic. I mean, it could go on for your whole show.
Yeah, see Jared Kushner, the entire negotiation through Middle East and now Ukraine with Witkoff involves many people who are not officially with the government. What is the plan related to what Noem kind of said and what you allude to in your DC report piece for the election?
The piece I have up right now at DC Report, and we're about to put up another one I'll tell you about in a second, is that last Friday in Arizona, she said that only the right people should vote and we have to elect the right people. Now, in most administrations, I would look at that and say, she just wants members of her party to vote and she wants you to vote for people from her party. That's not what they're saying here. It's very clear. And I quote Trump in his remarks. They want to suppress the votes of anyone they think will not be backing dear leader. And Kristi Noem's portfolio has nothing to do with elections. Absolutely nothing to do. So why is she raising this? Well, because they're signaling to all their friends what they're planning to do. Steve Bannon's comments, we're going to surround polling places with ICE agents. They intend that we're going to have elections. There's no question we're going to have them. What they're going to try and do is intimidate voters. Very good chance they're going to try to seize ballot boxes. And that could lead to some armed standoffs between local police or sheriff's deputies and federal authorities. I mean, we're going to have, I think, a real mess. And they're going to challenge ballots that are mailed in. And, the post office just made a very subtle but important change. Historically, you put something in the mail, they stamp it, and you've made the deadline. Not anymore. They may hold on to it for days before they stamp it, postmarked. And so that's part of the effort to suppress mail-in voting, which bizarrely Trump insists again and again is all corrupt and dishonest. It's Republicans who benefited the most because Republican voters tend to be more my age than your age, and they stay at home. They may live in assisted facilities or senior housing and not go to a polling place. But be that as it may, that's a problem. And then the House has passed the SAFE Act, which would require not only identification that meets a certain standard that many people can't meet, but it would require women who, when they married, if they took their husband's name, or anybody who married and took their spouse's name, to basically re-register and prove that who they are. Now, that is another area where conservative Republican women who would support Trump are more likely to have taken a husband's name than women like my wife, retired charity CEO, who kept her name. Yeah, and who, by the way, we gave our 2 children her last name since I already had 6.
Oh, that's why. That's wild.
That was my idea.
That's a David Cay Johnston piece of trivia that I love. The SAVE Act, to which you've sort of alluded, in addition to the Noem stuff, the idea of the name change and all these suppression moves that might become a part of the legislation, a real voter suppression flex. among the things is, in addition to, you need passport or other proof. A lot of people don't have passports. Many people don't have passports. Half the nation doesn't have passports. But there's an administrative aspect to this. David, in the SAVE Act, they've added all this administration that the states have to do. They just don't have the money. First of all, there's been no money attached to it for this additional administrative layer. And secondly, they have to do it in a really short time. I mean, the midterms are coming up. So it seems designed to sow kind of chaos around the elections.
Oh, that's exactly what it's designed to do. And on top of that, this unfunded mandates that cost money. Mark, I'm old enough to remember the Republican promise of less government.
Right. Yeah, that promise left the building. Right.
Yeah, a long time ago. But we have a real problem. I would, if I can, I want to tell you what we're about to post at DC Report. I'm told by the managing editor we'll have it up before the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the Epstein files.
Wow.
What?
Not everybody in the Epstein files did anything wrong or has any reason to be worried. I never spoke to Jeffrey Epstein, never met Jeffrey Epstein, never emailed Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, never wrote about him until he was dead, which he died more than 6 years ago. What's in the Epstein files are, my name is there 4 times, and the files have been released so far. Remember, we only have half of them. And there are references to my work. I'm called a tax expert. They cite my Pulitzer Prize. Their one section is about my reporting on this enormous income gap that I was pioneered covering and started documenting on an annual basis in 1995. And then the other reference is to my critique of state lotteries as the most heavily taxed consumer product in America. Essentially, you win one of the big lotteries, you end up after taxes and the reduction for immediate payment with about a third of the money. So they say, $1 billion lottery. Well, you're going to get 330 million or so. It's a lot of money, but it's not $1 billion.
That's wild, by the way, just as an aside. Yeah, when you put it that way. Go ahead.
Epstein is in this world of people who make money by manipulating markets, by having insider information, and they want to know the zeitgeist. And one of the papers that cites my work was trying to get an understanding among these folks, Epstein in particular, that having this enormous income gap is a fundamental threat to them because it can lead to other reactions. And let me give you a number that's on my door at Rochester Institute of Technology. In my book, Perfectly Legal, there's a chart, and it says, here is this little tiny line. It's the increase in income above inflation from 1970 to 2000 for 90% of Americans. And it's just the thinnest little line. Next to it, to the same scale, it goes to the top of the page. There's an arrow there, and there's a little note. Continues off page for 62 feet. So it's 1 inch to 62.5 feet. That's in dollars, $1 to 7,500. I just redid the numbers and posted an update on the door to my office at RIT. That 62.5 feet is now 2,356 feet, more than half a mile. And that's happened in 21 years, because it's to 2021. In 21 years, we went from 7,500 to 1 to about 44,000 to 1. And that's what's going on in the economy, and Trump is pushing this. You know, the pay pie is getting bigger, and I've documented that with pie charts. But the slice going to the 100th of 1%, the 10th of 1%, the half of 1%, their slice is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and literally the rest of us have a smaller slice because of this. And I just today hired a person to do animations to try and make this so you can see it in motion in several different ways. But that is the reason you have so many people supporting Trump. Their economics are just fakakta, but they don't understand why. And Trump tells them it's the Democrats, it's the illegals. When no, it's Donald Trump and his class who are and have been rewriting the government rule book. And one of the best proofs of that is This month, the Trump administration announced, or maybe it was in January, but I think it was this month, that they are redoing all the clean air rules, and they're going to redo the clean water rules, in which now they're going to measure how much money industry would save if they're allowed to pollute, and they're going to value human life at zero. Zero. That should tell you all you need to know. These people love money, and they don't care about you.
I'm sorry,
we lost the boss.
We lost our friend. We lost our friend. Oh, and here he comes back. Before I bring up another topic, I'll let him slide back into the conversation. There you go.
Yeah, this is the tried and true move from Trump. Just legislate it and call it clean water and clean air. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. It's branding.
And they're doing this not with legislation, but through regulation. And
you mean the removal of regulation?
Yes, they are. Yeah, there is no deregulation. There's only re-regulation. And the re-regulation is contrary to the interests of every single person. There's going to be more mercury, which is a dangerous toxic metal. There's going to be more micropollutants that get into the air. And if you breathe them in, especially if you're in a place where there's fairly concentrated levels of it, it can get into your bloodstream and cause heart attacks, cancer, liver damage. So by discounting who in the world runs for office and then says the value of human life is zero? This is just.
But the spin on it, David, of course, is that the overregulated industries have prevented business from making money and bringing money to Americans. The spin on coal is just ludicrous. I mean, it's insane. It's such a deeply polluting, toxic thing. And somehow, you create an animated character, you give yourself an award, and you create, let's assume it is 43,000 jobs. That's a drop in the bucket compared to the number of jobs associated with other forms of energy, including alternative energy. That's probably the great frontier of hiring. So it's an insanity all its own.
All of the environmental regulations that we have, since Richard Nixon, a Republican, signed the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act, are from a balancing test of how much does it cost and how much does it cost in human life. And, spending $1 million to save 1 in 10 million lives, we're not going to do that. These were all based on reason, debate, argument as to what we're going to do and not do. The auto industry used to say, if you want to make a safe car, it'll weigh 5,000 tons and use 3 gallons per mile. And no nonsense. We figured out how to build much safer cars. People no longer get impaled on steering wheels, as happened in the 50s. They no longer have their throats slashed by the windshield, as happened until Ralph Nader came along and got us real safety glass. It's the end of the world nonsense. The MAGA people believe this, and the rest of the world does not. But all of this is a fundamental assault in which the people who call themselves Christians should be deeply offended, because the root of all evil is the love of money. It's not money. It is the love of money. And I don't know anybody who loves money, imagined or real, that he has more than Donald Trump. It is how he defines himself. And his administration is just throwing open every possibility they can find. We're not going to really regulate the stock market anymore. We're going to oppress things that would push down the price of energy. Trump said he's going to cut your energy bill in half. Well, no, that hasn't happened. Energy bills are going up, and they're going up fast. And the rest of the world is going to the 2 cheapest forms of energy around, solar and wind. The Chinese have built these enormous solar gardens. They have all this cheap power. They're therefore buying less oil because they're getting more and more electric cars. And we're just being left in the dust. I mean, we're going from the world's technology leader to also-rans because we have a man in the White House who is appallingly ignorant and doesn't know and understand physics, chemistry, or any of the other things he claims to be such an expert on.
Ignorant and on the take, I would add.
Yes,
I think that there's money
absolutely.
changing hands. Yeah,
absolutely.
And just on your point, the Chinese are not only expanding in all of these areas where we used to have some leadership in alternative energy, et cetera, but they are even in other areas of science to which you've referred, like just the general idea somehow that America was a place where you'd see the greatest clearinghouse of scientific minds in the world. And now the administration has completely changed that. There's a brain drain in this country. It's happened really fast. And China, of all places, is opening its doors to a lot of the researchers and scientific brains that used to come to America.
Yeah, years ago, I wrote about a medical researcher who came up with what seemed to be an incredibly great insight. And the government wouldn't fund it. None of the drug companies would fund it. All of them said the same thing, which was, yeah, if this is true, it's enormous profits, hundreds of billions of dollars of profits, but it's risky and it may not happen, so we're not going to fund it. So he goes home to see his parents in China, and he stops off in Beijing, goes to the science ministry, and they listen to him and say, okay, thank you very much. And then they call him up on the phone and tell him to hustle back from visiting his parents. And they say, okay, approved. And he goes, well, so what do I get? I mean, I laid out this, how many hundreds of people I wanted to employ and this, and they said, yeah, you're approved. They gave him everything. They didn't hassle him. They went, yeah, it's a risk, but if it works, holy mackerel. We're not thinking that way. We don't, our can do is not there anymore. And just think about this. More than half of your income, to everybody who is listening, more than half of your income today is the direct result of taxpayer investments in basic science. Companies do applied science. They take what's found by basic science researchers and they figure out how to turn it into something that's a useful product. Trump is just savaged basic science. There's good reason to think we were close to having a vaccine for certain kinds of cancers. They killed it. They killed breast cancer research. They've killed all sorts of scientific projects. And if you don't have projects that fail, you're really not doing anything significant. You need to, the same thing is true for philanthropies, funding social change, or anything else. If you don't have failures, you're not really doing anything. You're doing little marginal things that are safe. You want to make advances, you want to have a wealthier world, a wealthier society, a healthier one, then you got to put some money into risk. And to the Trump folks, oh my God. And by the way, at the end of the day, they haven't saved us a penny. Spending is wildly out of control. The deficit has grown by enormous leaps and bounds. When Obama came in, when Biden came in, they started bringing the deficits down. When Clinton came in, he actually produced a surplus for 4 years, and depending on the accounting, you could argue all 8 years. The borrow and spend Republicans, my goodness, they, to them, there's no end, just borrow money so that the billionaires can pay less tax. Americans need to start thinking critically and understanding what's actually being done as what was proposed and promised.
Yeah, it's you lay it out quite well and quite starkly, and the dangers are laid out there along the lines of research that is no longer funded, the complete abandonment of mRNA technology, somehow suggesting that there's some you've got the RFK thing. That just reminds me, Tony, will you play the RFK thing for real quick, just because we're talking about Maha? This is RFK on a podcast saying, I'm not worried about germs. It's here we go.
And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
No, that's kind of like a funny thing to say. I mean, I know he means it in a flip way, but he's really
I think it's literally true. I think it's
it's true too. But what I'm saying is he's turned that into policy. Like, germs can't hurt you, and let me tell you why.
Yeah. There was a time before we had germ theory, before Leeuwenhoek, and we didn't understand how disease spread. When the Great Plague hit London, people got the idea that black cats and cats were the problem. So they went and killed all the cats in London. Well, of course, the plague is spread by mites that live on rats. If you kill all the cats, guess what? The mice population grows, the plague-carrying mite population grows, and more people die. That's where RFK Jr.'s thinking is. He's really living 800 years ago, not today.
This from Depressed Canadian. He says, if Dems come back to power, expect the GOP to snap back to performative austerity and, quote, fiscal responsibility, as if 4 terms of Trump and W's tax cuts never happened. Yeah, it'll be back to how can you pay for that type thing.
Yeah, and that's why the Democrats have to do 2 things at the same time that aren't much more difficult than walking and chewing gum. They have to go after Trump and the people around him tooth and nail when they get back power, not delay. And secondly, what are you going to do for me? They need to be saying, here are the things we're going to do to raise incomes, to lower your burdens, to make college affordable, to fix the roads, to do all sorts of things. And some of those are going to cost money. The way you approve that is you show, yeah, we're not doing it by giving money away to billionaires. We're going to invest in America. We're going to take bridges that need to be replaced 35 years ago and start replacing them, which creates a lot of jobs, which generates more money. We're going to pave roads and maybe pave them better so we don't have as many potholes. And we're going to develop and encourage the 2 cheapest forms of electricity, solar and wind.
You make me think of the infrastructure projects that have been interrupted by Trump because he wanted his name slapped on Dulles Airport and Penn Station. I mean, it's a crazy thing. This is the biggest infrastructure project that employs so many people in the country. And yet this kind of bizarre Mad King executive action can hold it up.
Well, and think about how he thinks about that. He doesn't say, oh, yeah, the 125-year-old tunnel under the water between New Jersey and New York City. I think we have better priorities. There are better ways to spend our money. Let's build another bridge. I don't know. You could come up with a bunch of arguments. No, it's, oh, I want my name on Penn Station. Do that, and then I'll approve the money. This has nothing to do with policy or anything else. Mark, Kim had a question.
Oh, she did? Sorry, Kim. Did you have a question?
Yeah, when you were out of the box, she had a question.
Oh, yeah. I was knocked off. Go ahead, Kim.
I did have a question, as a matter of fact, and it relates to what you're just talking about. I saw this story on NBC, as a matter of fact. Trump says the idea of renaming New York's Penn Station after him was raised by others, not by him, which I thought was really funny and ridiculous regarding, the slapping his name on buildings. Does anyone, do you think, believe that that's not coming from Trump himself?
Yeah, the problem is a lot of people do believe what he said. That's the real problem. Donald all the time, uses these vagaries. They say this. Some people say this. I just handed back several papers to my students who use some people and said, that's vague and useless. No. You got to come up with a better mechanism. It's bad rhetoric. You're not going to get anywhere in the world if that's the way you do it. No, Trump had this in his mind. I mean, as one of the members of Congress, it may have been Mark Pocan from Wisconsin, said, why don't we just jump to the end point and rename the planet Trump?
It's true. I mean, why not? Because sooner or later, by the time he leaves office, my only hope is that when he is out of office, that it won't take too long to strip all his name off of all the places that it now sits.
Well, we've got a long way to go because there's 3 more years, and he's got plans to put his name on currency. I mean, all kinds of things that we'd never even. I mean, it's really it's quite remarkable. And
we certainly
I have the same thought. Yeah, sorry.
We can't have a $20 bill with a real American hero, Harriet Tubman, on it. We have to have a murderous president, Andrew Jackson, on the $20 bill.
I've often said I'd rather have Beyonce's face on the $20 bill than Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson is despicable, toxic, awful. There are no adjectives to describe how awful a guy he was.
Yeah.
So, David, I wanted to just mention Steve Bannon, who shows up in the Epstein files in less of a benign way than you do. He has, here's the text sent to Epstein. Dude, he wrote, is this real? Tell me this is real. It was about a headline for the Miami Herald that reported that victims of Epstein's sexual abuse had lost a court battle to nullify this decade-old agreement that protected him from prosecution for those crimes. In other words, he was excited that maybe there would be a chance for Epstein to escape any sort of further legal exposure. And on and off for months, Bannon was back and forth with Epstein. This is, again, way after his conviction and way after 2008. Can we assess that? I mean, again, it seems like a lot of these, the rest of the world, the head of Hyatt just resigned. You're seeing resignations in top levels of government in Europe. But in this country, a lot of the governmental connections to Epstein, they just seem to bounce off of people like Bannon.
So remember, we have to keep in mind that Epstein was not solely a child rapist and organizer of child rape. He was an extortionist, and he was also trying to find deals, money deals. And there were people around him who want to do that. That's why I end up in his files, having to do with taxes. And Bannon, given his history, likely was figuring at some point he'd get money out of Epstein for something. After all, Epstein pledged, I don't think he actually paid, up to $5 million to get an utterly unqualified person into the Columbia University Dental School.
Right.
He paid, I think it was $500,000 to the dean or equivalent of the medical school, a dental school, and $100,000 or so to some professor who've been, quote unquote, disciplined. I don't know what that means. Fired and told never darken our door again would seem the appropriate response, but things like that go on. So Epstein was always looking for ways to entangle people, not just by getting them in compromising positions so he had leverage over them, could extort them, but also to find ways to make money without doing any real work. And and this network is all over the world. One of the most outrageous parts of all of this is the utter failure to address, the people like Bannon who lied about their connections. There are people who had connections which are difficult to fathom. I mean, what in the world was Noam Chomsky doing, hanging out around him? My guess, Epstein funded something he wanted, scholarships for students or something else, and he thought maybe I can get a lot more money out of Epstein for research projects or to promote his area of science. And so you shouldn't make the mistake of putting Epstein in this narrow box. This is a much broader, bigger scandal. And then Pam Bondi won't even acknowledge the victims who are sitting behind her in a hearing. And the culture that you're seeing here, Megyn Kelly. Well, it's not like they were 8-year-old girls. Excuse me? What? The level of inhumanity is tremendous. And that's where I'm completely lost with the people who call themselves Christians and aren't seeing this.
I also see women like Megyn Kelly, who sort of proclaimed a certain female strength and how women deserve a place at the table. These victims have had their lives derailed by the Epstein experience, and somehow you just ignore them. As you say, Bondi literally ignoring them during the hearing, and then Megyn Kelly trying to sort of rationalize somehow what happened.
Yeah, and I've been reading some more scientific literature, not that I understand all of it because I'm not a scientist, about the psychological damage to children. And it appears to me, and if there's anybody in the audience who knows otherwise, please reach out. But whether you get raped at 8 or 14 doesn't seem to make much difference to the outcomes. Some victims will be resilient and come back and they'll do fine with their lives, but many will be permanently harmed in the same way that these children who ISIS grabbed, who are being stuffed into these cages and being left there separated from their parents, they're being harmed. And some of them will do fine, most of them will not. But morally, where is the outrage from people who proclaim themselves to be good people? And if you can't see that, then, I think you deserve shame, opprobrium, and even shunning. Maybe we should look back to the Quakers and shun people. When Barack Obama and his wife appeared at the NBA All-Star game, there was no booing. It was all cheers. Maybe when Donald Trump walks into a room, people should get up and leave or turn their backs on him. So the message gets across.
I was going to share with you, and I know I have a minute here. I've got two things I just want to share with you. First of all, cratering poll numbers, and number two is Colbert. Can you give me just 2 minutes more, and I can get to those?
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah. So if you would play a little bit for David, the numbers on Trump are really grim if you're Donald Trump. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at another president, though. President Donald John Trump. Look at this. I got 4 numbers across for you on this screen here. They are all second-term lows for the given pollster. What are we talking about? AP Nork, 26 points below water. NBC, 22 points below water. Yahoo YouGov, 20 points below water. Quinnipiac, 19 points below water. So we're ranging from negative 19 points all the way to negative 26 points. You know, Kate, there's this question that folks keep asking, you know, where is the floor for Donald Trump? And I'm not sure there is a floor, because if there is one, Donald Trump, at least in term number 2, has just fallen through it to another low level.
Okay, David, what do you think on this latest stuff?
Donald is a bully, but he's actually weak, and he's getting weaker by the day. Most Americans are not the kind of people who think ICE did the right thing, you know, in shooting the 2 people in Minneapolis. That's not most human beings. And bit by bit, he is destroying his presidency on his own. The problem is the damage he's doing in the meantime. You know, it's the old saying by Judge Easterbrook from Chicago, who had the best-selling textbook in America about economics, that we do not need to have fraud laws in the stock market because the market will correct itself. Well, you know what? He's right. It will. It may have burned down the entire country and made us all poor, but it will correct. That's not how you do these things. You have laws designed to encourage virtuous behavior, and you have law enforcement to go after bad behavior. And what you're seeing with Trump is people being offended. I mean, the whole point Gandhi taught the world was passive resistance. So you let the British police or their agents beat you with sticks, and you do not respond. You just take the beating, because there's something, as Gandhi wrote, in the human heart that will make most people offended. There are certainly people like Stephen Miller say, "Oh yeah, hit them harder," but that's not most of us. And so he's seeing these decline. They're going to decline more. It's not going to make him resign. Not going to happen.
No, I mean, I think actually he may, you know, Tom Hartman was here the other day and said he's worried about how poorly Trump is doing on one level, because like an animal who's injured, I mean, it's a flex after that is about survival.
Yeah. Tom's right about that. Donald is very feral when he's in trouble. So there was another item you wanted.
Yes. So Colbert, quickly. So this is this speaks to the censorship and the FCC being, you know, so full of Trumpism that they're ready to run cover. So Tallarico, who's running for Senate in Texas, was to have been with Stephen Colbert on his show, and the FCC exerted enough pressure on the lawyers at CBS, and of course CBS is now MAGA adjacent because of the acquisition of the network, that Tallarico was a center of this effort to, as I say, for the FCC saying, hey, if you put him on, you also have to put on opposition candidates. This is an equal time situation, and in essence, scotching the interview. So indeed, it was deleted.
So several things. First of all, we don't have an equal time doctrine anymore, thanks to Republicans. So that's a phony argument. Secondly, this is totally inappropriate kind of conduct by the FCC. What the FCC should do is not what's called prior restraint. How dare you put him on the air to stop it? If you think there's a cause of action, you go and punish people after the fact. Now, this did run on cable or YouTube, basically.
Ran on YouTube, yeah.
Not broadcast. And I posted the other day in a couple of journalism forums, former New York Times, LA Times people, that I've been watching the CBS Evening News since Katie Tur's husband, Tony DeCoppel, took over. And they've actually been tougher than ABC or NBC on a number of stories, including tough stories about Trump.
Wow.
So the picture about this killing, the 60 Minutes, temporarily killing, delaying the CCOT story about the concentration/death camp in Central America, it's a more complicated picture. But Stephen Colbert is an entertainment program. He's not part of the CBS News division. And all of this goes to Donald Trump, you'll recall, ran for office saying, we're living under this tyrant, Joe Biden, and who won't let you speak and won't let you say things. I don't know, never found an example where he couldn't do that during his administration, but maybe somebody in your audience can send us some. But Trump is doing exactly that. And of course, that's how Donald operates. If he tells you other people are doing something bad, he's doing it. It's his thing. And this has backfired on them. It's the Barbra Streisand effect. Barbra Streisand's oceanfront home down in L.A. Was in Google, Zillow, or one of those services. And she went to war to make him remove it, which of course prompted there to be numerous posts put everywhere. Here's her house. And that's what's happening to them, is the Barbra Streisand effect. It's blowing it back up in their faces.
So Tallarico will get even more attention as a result of this.
Yes. And the great mystery in Texas is you don't have party registration, but we know what people identify with as political parties in Texas. And the data shows that essentially for every Republican in Texas, there's 1.5 Democrats. So why do the Democrats for 55 years just lose? And there are a number of explanations. Weak candidates, not putting money into it, not knowing how to speak to people. It would be interesting to see now if Tallarico can pull the rabbit out of the hat.
It really would be the rabbit out of the hat down there, David, but we will see. I mean, I also think Tallarico, last point here, is just, I think he's a very compelling candidate. He can speak the language of Christians. Like you've referenced Christians a lot in this conversation, and it's relevant because there's sort of this, there's a clinging to Christianity and sort of politicizing Christianity. And Tallarico can speak to that. He's well educated in that area. Yeah. And he also I feel like he's a fresh face. It's very possible that he could rock the boat in Texas, don't you think?
I think that there is a distinct possibility of that. Just remember that the last two candidates got creamed.
That is true. That is true. Before you get too excited,
And the Republicans have their own issue. John Cornyn is almost my age. I think he's 72 or 3. And so his opponent is 74, and his opponent is saying, well, I'm 44. We need young blood. And we may say Cornyn eventually walk away. He's the less problematic senator. It's Ted Cruz who is the real problem. You may remember that the joke that I think was traced to
Al Franken.
No, the senator from Arizona who ran for president. I hate this about being.
You're talking about John McCain? No,
John McCain, who said that if somebody shot Cruz or killed Cruz on the Senate floor, nobody would testify for the prosecution. That nobody would have seen it. I mean, he was that. It's pretty hard to make yourself that unpopular in the most elite club in the history of the world.
Franken's line was I'm Ted Cruz's best friend in the Senate, and I hate Ted Cruz. That's what that was.
Yes, I remember when Al said that. Yeah. So anyway, but folks, don't lose heart. Don't let them wear you out. Don't get fatigued. This is a long-running management problem. We don't solve problems by and large. We manage them. We can get through this, but we are by no means guaranteed that we will get our country back. And sticking to this, winning over friends, getting people to separate from Donald Trump, and knocking down lies with facts, or trying to, all of those are just elements of a multifaceted effort to, make America free again.
Yeah, wow, good. I love it. David, we'll link to your piece on DC Report's website under this video, and always appreciate
good. It's up now. Thank you.
David Cay Johnston explains why his name appears in the Epstein files and why Trump's redactions matter. Find it at dcreport.org. Thanks, David. Talk next week.
Bye-bye.
David Cay Johnston. Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. Good conversation with David. Kim got a request. You requested a question from Kim.
Well, that's only because you dropped out, and I had popped in.
It was a good question.
Well,
I was quite impressed.
What?
I know. I'm just saying. Let me get to a couple of comments here, and I also
your comments.
Yeah, I do want to mention that Duvall, we'll talk about him in a minute. Like Duvall in so many movies, like The Godfather, certainly one of them. Can you ask him how his decline compares to what was happening with President Biden? I'll ask him the next time he comes through. It says Wes in Florida. Thank you for a $5 super chat, Wes.
Big shout out.
Sean M. Isaac.
Or McIsaac.
Yeah, I've never heard the name McIsaac, but you're right. It does look like McIsaac. Anyway, you can analyze Donald's decline based on objective measures such as his word choices and the complexity of his sentences. The results are not great, says Sean, with a 1067 super chat. Thank you.
Big shout out.
He seems diminished. He really does. So, Latka Datka Ocho Ino Dinko Didi Do. I miss her, says Richard Delamater. You get that, Kim?
Yeah, isn't that the lady that goes, Lacha Bacha? Remember her, the crazy Christian lady?
Oh, yeah. That's when he was talking about, now I get it, the context. Thank you, Richard.
Big shout out.
We have the drop somewhere. She goes crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what her name is, but she's nutty.
Her name, he had her name. It's
she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, it was Acha. It was Acha or something, wasn't it? I don't know. Let me just see. Let me see if I can find it. As I recall, it was somewhere up here.
I think it came because we were
no,
talking
he mentioned
speaking in tongues.
Speaking in tongues.
Yeah, and she's one of those.
Yeah, I can't find it. Sorry,
That's
I'll
all right.
find it at some point, but I can't find it. But good. Yeah, she was, and that's exactly who he was speaking of. So good grab on that. My sister is a baker, and she flipped over Sweet 106 Bakery cupcakes. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. They're true. So good. They really are. They're another level. Oh my God, the Black Forest is amazing, says Janet. So far, it is my favorite. Yeah, jump on this sweet106bakery.com. Use the discount code Mark T. You'll get 10% off. Speaking of discounts, I do want to acknowledge our longtime sponsors and partners, and that's CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I'm drinking out of my Born to Peacefully Protest mug, which has our show tastefully emblazoned on the back side. But CoachellaValleyCoffee.com is literally the best coffee I've ever tasted. And as you might imagine, I've had coffee with kings and princes, my friends, in the deserts of the Middle East, on the Champs-Élysées of Paris, in the fjords of Norway. I have had coffee, but never as delicious and rich as Coachella Valley coffee. Again, all organic and ethically sourced from women-owned farms. You get 10% off with our discount code MARKT. There's also magnificent tea and spices. It is a curated world of some of the best tastes spices. And I really mean this is a boutique roastery. They take such pride in the work they do. It's a real craft for them. So definitely get on it if you haven't tried it. Sipping on my Clarity blend right now, says Ms. Organic. I love that. Use our discount code MARKT at checkout. It's not a discount roastery. This is a boutique roastery. So use the discount. MARKT at checkout gets you 10% off. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Put that coffee down.
Yes,
No,
I am anxious to turn you on to another taste experience. You will love it. All right,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I really just didn't want to end the. Almost forgot to hit the like button. Everyone hit it. Says hello, Karen. Yeah, please hit the like button if you would. It helps us in the world of YouTube. I wanted to circle back around real quickly to the Wall Street Journal piece. The Wall Street Journal lays bare the fraud that is Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is an incompetent. Kristi Noem is one who really has a life informed by political aspiration and nothing else. There's nothing wrong with having political aspiration, but there's everything wrong with that being your defining characteristic. And so she's wrapped herself around Donald Trump with the compliments, with the adoration that she shows Donald Trump. And again, she's in good company, right? I mean, all of the Republican Party has essentially sold their soul to compliment the supreme leader. But what makes her different is that she's running an immense organization. The Department of Homeland Security, as you're aware, was birthed after 9/11, and it was designed really to put in touch various agencies that weren't in close touch, and it was suggested that's one of the reasons 9/11 happened. You know, the FBI wasn't talking to other law enforcement agencies, and so the idea that these guys were going to fly into these huge buildings and they were taking classes in flight, weren't concerned with landing the plane, only concerned with takeoff and flying the plane. These are all things that the FBI actually was aware of, and there were literally reports on this, and it didn't get out to other agencies, and there wasn't an interdiction, there wasn't an involvement, there wasn't an aggressive action taken because these intelligence agencies weren't talking to each other. So what do? And it wasn't just intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies. They create the Department of Homeland Security. And now you've got ICE, you've got Border Patrol, you've got all of them. You know, Kim can give you the list of various agencies under the Department of Homeland Security. It's immense. It's a bigger budget than any other budget in Washington, save the Pentagon. So you put this woman who is an absolute incompetent, who really just wants to be president. She just wants to run everything. She wrote that book about how she shot her puppy in the pebble gravel yard or whatever, the granite gravel yard, whatever the hell it was. And she wrote that, talked about it, because it was supposed to be a kind of expression of her strength. Let me show you what I'll do. I'm just going to shoot. I'll put the dog down right now because it's not trainable in her view. So she shoots her puppy dead. So that kind of damaged her brand a little bit because Americans just don't like to hear about how people, out of the blue shoot puppies. And so that hurt her political aspirations, her aspirations associated with being vice president. But lo and behold, Donald Trump appoints her to the Department of Homeland Security head job. And what follows is her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is this guy, Corey Lewandowski, who was in the first Trump administration, had to leave because of, again, the sexual assault allegations or allegations around assault generally. He's a combative guy, a troubled guy, it seems, but he has a position of intense power now because he, and again, this is according to the Wall Street Journal reporting, is the guy. And I told you this a year ago when these guys were first taking office. I said, Lewandowski is the guy there. It was widely understood in Washington, if you want something done at the Department of Homeland Security, you don't go to Kristi Noem, you go to Corey Lewandowski. And so Lewandowski and Noem are running that organization, and they're running it on the taxpayer dime with utter fiat and caprice, and there are a lot of payoffs along the way, and here's what I mean. The idea that so much of their budget is dedicated toward media. They have tremendous media buys. There is a part of the Wall Street Journal article that discusses the fact that a priority for Kristi Noem is getting her face out there on television, getting her face out there at airports, getting her face out there representing the messaging that DHS wants. You saw all of those TV spots with the prisoner is behind her in her cosplay, she's wearing a hat, she's wearing camo, she's carrying a gun. You see all of this stuff. And
she's riding a horse.
Yeah, riding a horse. Thank you. She had all the stuff. Well, that is your money going into this messaging. It is a priority for her. And what the Wall Street Journal piece points out is when she saw other people who were under her, like Tom Homan, for example, with the Department of Homeland Security showing up on the Sunday shows, showing up in press and media, she became concerned that they were getting more press than she was. She wants to be the face. She wants to be out there. She wants to the next thing after this. So again, a lot of this stuff is informed by political ambition, and both she and Lewandowski are all about it. And I don't care, and I've said this from the very beginning, who you're rolling around with. I don't care if you're having an affair with the pool man, with the gardener, with the guy who did. It doesn't matter, man. I could give a rat's A. That's between you and your husband or your community, whatever, or your God. I mean, I only care about how it's affecting the American people and whether I'm paying to make it happen, if you're flying your boyfriend in, or in the case of Kash Patel, if we're assigning a detail to his girlfriend, and somehow your money is being deployed to facilitate a romance or a date or relationship. That should concern all of us. Again, it's a rounding error considering the waste of money that's associated with DHS, but it nonetheless does add up. So the latest Wall Street Journal piece actually points to a situation where the rubber meets the road on some level, and it was an incident by which there was a blanket left on a flight that Kristi Noem was on, and the Corey Lewandowski crew became angry that she didn't get her blanket off the flight. The pilot and those people attending to the flight cleared the airplane, it seemed, of everything that was associated with Kristi Noem, all of her belongings, etc., but they left this blanket on board. Well, so incensed was Corey Lewandowski that he fired the pilot who flew them in. He summarily fires the guy right there. Then, realizing that there was nobody to fly them back, he has to rehire the pilot who flies them back. I mean, it's utter insanity. These people have no business in government any longer. I mean, this deep dive that the Wall Street Journal took into the chaos and dysfunction inside the Department of Homeland Security really lays bare the utter absurdity and the utter incompetence that informs this agency. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
Before you fire your pilot, don't you think you should make sure that you already have a replacement pilot before you do that? I mean, it's just not thinking at all.
They're not thinking, I mean, and apparently Lewandowski and Noem both frequently berate senior staffers. They demand polygraph tests for employees that they don't trust. They routinely fire employees at DHS for dubious reasons. These are all things detailed in the Wall Street Journal piece. And it is an utterly unacceptable world that's going on at an agency with tremendous power. So I think when you look at DHS, when you look at ICE policy, already tragically flawed with the execution of 2 American citizens on the streets of Minneapolis, you have to also keep in mind the performative aspect, the incompetent aspect of management at the highest levels of DHS. Now, they're joined by other incompetence in this administration, but I'd suggest these 2 are the other train wreck that is finally beginning to be reported upon. And you've seen Noem even pull back into the shadows a little bit, kind of waiting for things to chill out. But remember, the pipeline with ICE agents being hired by the tens of thousands, that continues. And you have a budget at ICE that exceeds that of the FBI. It's crazy, and it's oversized, outsized, and not even approved upon by the American people. You fire a pilot over a lost blanket, really? Says Randy. Yeah, you do. That's exactly what happened. And, I'll give you one. The blanket incident, Noem had to switch planes after this maintenance issue was discovered. Her blanket wasn't moved as they switched planes. And the Coast Guard pilot, initially fired and told to take a commercial flight home, they eventually had to reinstate him because there was no one else available to fly them home. There it is. It's incredible. And the last thing I'll just say about this is Corey Lewandowski isn't a government employee. He didn't have to go through any of the processes associated with confirmation, for example, that Kristi Noem had to go through. And yet he's effectively running DHS. There is so much of this within the administration. It's almost like a shadow government. Corey Lewandowski was at that meeting with Donald Trump and Kristi Noem. There were just three of them there. Trump, Noem, and Lewandowski. He's not a government employee. So this is what we're dealing with now. I mean, in addition to everything else that's going on in this government, corruption at the highest levels, you have incompetence, and you have, I think, a disintegration of real administration and management. And most of all, you've got these hotheads drunk on power making all of these decisions, dressing down decent governmental employees and actually finishing careers. In fact, I have one other example before I leave you, and that is
The Mark Thompson Show.
That is what happened with Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth firing a very high-profile, let me just find the story, here it is. This from the Washington Post. Hegseth forces the ouster of a senior Army spokesman. It's the Defense Secretary's latest move to push out an officer who worked for retired General Mark Milley, a target of Donald Trump's. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth forcing out the ouster of a senior military advisor to Army Secretary Dan Driscoll. This is the Pentagon chief's latest intervention into the service's internal affairs amid long simmering tension between two of the Trump administration's top political appointees, the Post says. Hegseth directed Driscoll to fire Colonel David Butler. It is at least the second time within months that Hegseth had raised this issue of getting rid of David Butler. The interesting thing also in this case is that during this last couple of months, in conversations, Hegseth passed Driscoll a sticky note saying that Butler will not be promoted. Butler has served most recently as a spokesman and media strategist for Driscoll, and General Randy George, as the Army's chief of staff, had been nominated for promotion to brigadier general. This is what I wanted to share with you. But Hegseth said no, he's not going to get that promotion, and the reasons for that no remain unclear. Officials familiar with the matter say that Butler's name appeared on a list of about 36 promotion-eligible Army officers that should have been sent to the White House for approval months ago. It appears that his inclusion was among the reasons that these promotions have been delayed. After Hegseth's order to Driscoll last week, these people said that Butler elected to submit his retirement paperwork rather than hold up his colleagues' promotions. So here's a guy who turned down, essentially, even the pushback, didn't want to be part of the pushback on his promotion, which was held up for reasons, I suspect, that have to do with loyalty, right? But this is what's going on now in government. It's about loyalty. It's not about the military. And you've got Pete Hegseth having just beamed into the situation, more concerned with playing the theater of the military than anything else. Mark, are you going to talk about Obama and the UFOs?
I actually have that story in news, as a matter of fact.
I don't know why I can't. There it is. And the reason Texas Airport was shut down wasn't because of a laser test, but UFOs. Oh, is that right? I hadn't seen that last part. Here is, can we run it, Tony? Or how does
no,
it
it's
work?
just a picture. It's just a picture.
Okay. Basically, Obama said there are no UFO remnants or alien remnants in Area 51. That's what Obama said.
He was on No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen.
Right.
And he said, aliens are real. And everyone flipped out. And so then he had to go back and correct himself, right?
What he said was, yes, that. But then the correction was, well, the universe is a vast place. I mean, it's incredible to even consider that such a vast place doesn't have life somewhere in it. I mean, that seems like a fairly safe bet. but it's very possible that there is no life in the Milky Way galaxy. It really is. I mean, that there's no intelligent life. I mean, look that up. It is, this could really be the incredibly special place that we think it is. And this idea like, oh, there's another Earth in our Milky Way. It's just like this. There's a Mark Thompson speaking just like, no. The things that had to come together to make this happen, they're significant. Anyway, but the idea that there's life somewhere in a universe this size makes sense. But yeah, but he did make it pretty clear that there's no Area 51 secret, though. Phineas, is it Phineas who had said bring it up? Here's a little piece of it.
Aliens real.
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
He's very funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. Well, it's gotten late, but I do want to spend a moment on something that is super both sad and important, and that is the passing.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The passing of Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall, a landmark actor. I mean, we use the word iconic, I think, a lot in our culture these days, but this guy really was remarkable because he inhabited roles in ways that are just extraordinary. Let me look at that. I mean, we're showing you various pictures of Duvall in roles that he made so famous. It's as though, I mean, you could go through several careers and not have the kind of memorable roles that Robert Duvall has created. He's an Oscar winner, of course. And Tony, you have the piece on him. Can we run it? His first role, To Kill a Mockingbird, was striking and not one word of dialogue. Thank you, Hilo Karen. That's so right. Yeah. Here's a little bit on Robert Duvall.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Over a career spanning more than 60 years, Robert Duvall became one of America's most respected and versatile actors in Hollywood history, known for his incredible range and command of the screen.
Clarence, take it easy. How the hell could I see it? It's just going on now.
He got his start on an early classic, playing Boo Radley in 1962's To Kill a Mockingbird, a wordless role in which he made a mark. A broad spectrum of films and roles followed. The villain opposite John Wayne in the epic American Western True Grit, and the inept and often pompous Major Frank Burns in MASH.
Keep your filthy mouth to yourself.
There you go.
But it wasn't until the role of Tom Hagen for The Godfather, a concerned lawyer and consigliere for the Corleone crime family, that would launch Duvall's career.
Even the shooting of your father was business, not personal, Sonny.
Well, I always knew after Godfather 1 I would do maybe okay, but I knew that it might happen in 10 years after everybody else. And somebody once said between 25 and 40, they're good actors. After that, something happens in a negative way. So I always tried to remember that and think of myself in the potential. As I grow older, I have more experience, and I feel I have more to offer, that I can become a better performer.
Duvall was known for bringing naturalism to his roles. His ability to transform reached another high mark in 1979, when he played a tyrannical father and fighter pilot in The Great Santini.
Hey, Mama's boy. I bet you're gonna cry. Come on, Mama's boy.
That same year, some of his most memorable work in less than 20 minutes of total screen time, playing Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore in Apocalypse Now. Duvall was nominated for 7 Oscars, winning his only one for his performance as a washed-up country music star in the much quieter Tender Mercies.
And let me rest my head for a while.
Duvall also stepped behind the camera, writing and directing, as well as starring in The Apostle as a deeply flawed preacher seeking redemption. The performance would earn him another Academy Award nomination. He was nominated for multiple Emmys as well, including for one of his best roles in the miniseries Lonesome Dove as Ranger Gus McCrae.
I'm giving you a reason to go off on another adventure.
The show was a huge hit and set a new standard for television series. In all, Duvall had more than 140 film and television acting credits and remained active into his 90s. His family said he died peacefully in his home in Virginia. Robert Duvall was 95 years old.
Yeah, 95. And I think his wife was 41 years younger than he was, which is a... They met doing Tango. Yeah, there he is in Bullet. Very, very good. Good grab. I think somebody mentioned that he was in Bullet. Hilo Karen mentioned he was in Bullet. Yeah. Bullet on the streets of San Francisco, one of the great chase scenes of the 60s, I think it was. There he is with his wife that he met in Argentina. I think she's Argentinian, and they made a movie about tango, and they were great tango dancers. So, how about that?
95. That's a nice long life.
Yeah. By the way, how many times was Robert Duvall married? How many times was Robert Duvall married? He then, of course, had this beautiful Argentinian wife. He's married to her for quite some time, up until his death, I think over 10 years. Anybody have a guess? How many times is Robert Duvall married? A big star like that? Typically, Trace says Phineas. 6 says Champagne Wishes. 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 5, 3. These are all guesses that are coming up in the chat. The answer is 4. Yes, 4. There they are. Tony, of course, on the spot with the actual names and the references to his prior...
It's nice to know that he didn't give up on love.
No, exactly.
Thanks, Tony.
Barbara Benjamin, Gail Youngs, Sharon Brophy, and Luciana Pedraza. And, it's interesting. I'm just looking to see how long they were. One of them was 11 years. Put that back up there, will you, please? So his first marriage was 11 years, right? And his second marriage was 4 years. His third marriage was 4 years. And then Luciana, what is that? 11 years also. So he had long haul, shorter haul, long haul. That's the way to do it. That's what I'm going for. Yeah. But my mom's been married 4 times, says Zero Sum. All were idiots.
What?
Wow. Well, there you go. I really like the color of your hair, Mark, says Joanne. Joanne likes the, I went with the, it's just, the reason it's darker, nothing's changed. You didn't really ask this part, but since I've already started, I'll tell you. And here's an interesting fact about tango. I'll get to that in a second. But but when you first get it done, it's darker, and then it'll lighten up, and that's what's going to happen. So it's going to lighten up. But right now it's darker. Mark Thompson Show, did you know the tango was deemed an indecent, obscene, sexualized dance? Chris, please. In Argentina, when it came out, it was deemed all of these things. It was banned, and you were fined if you danced it in public. MAGA called Bad Bunny's dance obscene. Tango was called obscene. That obscene label gets thrown around. Thank you, Will Knight, for that. I did not know that. Here is Tony, of course, found Duvall doing a bit of his tango. They met through tango dancing. He and his his bride. Really something. Yeah. Really, really cool. He seemed like a really cool dude. Didn't know him, never met him, but he seemed like the chillest guy, he said, he said, people on the street are always coming up and saying, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. He says, like, I've never heard anybody ever say that to me. You know what I mean? It's like people just don't, you know, it was really funny. You realize that what comes with iconic roles is stuff like that. Like, people are always going to say, you know, I'm the captain now, or whatever. Like, like I like. So it was just very funny to hear him. He wasn't annoyed about it. He was kind of laughing about it. I saw it in a recent interview, but I don't know. I don't know, Kim. I could stay on the air all day today. I really do. I feel it. The Robert Duvall, they may just be using the condoms as a currency, says Ole Hansen, talking about the Olympians who have run out of condoms. When the dollar is weak, they'll use condoms. Well, that's a good, I don't know. I mean, it's a... Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work. Oh, did I have my math was wrong on his, somebody says my math ain't mathin'. Was that wrong on his? Oh, it's 21 years he's been married? I'm so sorry. Did I say 11? Yeah, I apologize. I don't know. I plead that I've got a horrible low-grade cold that's kept me up all night. I haven't slept in days. But so sorry about that, Robert Duvall. It was 21 years. Apologies. All right. I was only married once, and I'm an idiot, says Daniel. Well, at least you recognize it. You know, heal thyself, right? Last thing I will say to you, I'm late in saying it, but do support our advertising partner. I love Zellman's. I took Zellman's before the show. Zellman's Minty Mouth is a product that we road tested before we brought them on the air to make sure that they really work. And it really does work. I take 3, and then you get that fresh sort of minty in your mouth taste. But then you get to the capsule, and the capsule is really where it's all happening, because in the capsule is the parsley seed oil, and that interacts with the stuff in your stomach that gives you bad breath. Yeah, I always have a pack on me, and you should too. So tiny capsules, huge results. Again, on the outside, the powerful mint, and on the inside, the parsley seed oil designed to help fight odors that can cause bad breath. No artificial sweeteners, no xylitol, no preservatives, alcohol-free, keto-friendly, gluten-free. It's amazing. What? I know. Use our discount code MARK-T. You'll get 15% off. They are our newest partners, Zellman's, Z-E-L-M-I-N-S, Zellmans.com. But do use the code MARK-T, 15% off at checkout. Zellmans.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'd like to hang out. I really would. I wish you could smell my breath right now, by the way. I have the freshness of Zellman's going. But, yeah. I am excited about tomorrow's show. Why am I excited about tomorrow's show, Kim?
Because John Rothman will be here.
And also what we'll be talking about, I think. I'm going to talk a lot about ICE, how things are changing at ICE, how they're using data from Americans, from Google, from Meta, Palantir. They're all working together, and they are mining data from Americans. By the way, that will be something that is done with the vote coming up as well. Palantir may be part of that project in an oversized way. So there's a lot to talk about tomorrow. I hope you will join us.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody, for supporting the show, for sharing the show, and doing all the things you do.
Bye-bye.
Out of time. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.